Hey everybody, so a number of my favorite authors have books coming out in 2024, books that I have been waiting for with bated breath, and I am here to tell you about 8 of them today, so let's get started. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you all doing today? As always, I hope you're happy, I hope you're healthy, I hope you're safe, and of course I hope you're reading an amazing book or 2 or 3 or 4. As you can probably tell from the way I sound, I have been fighting something. I don't know what it is. I don't feel terrible, but I haven't felt great, and it has definitely changed the way I've been talking lately. So I've been reading happily, but put some videos off until I at least sounded somewhat normal. But today I am here to talk to you about a stack of books that I could not be more excited about. A number of my favorite authors have new books coming out this year that I cannot wait to make sure you have on your TBR. So, without further ado, get out your pen, get out your paper, get out your Goodreads, however you keep track of that TBR. If you are so able, please order these books from your local independent bookstore. A few of them are already out. Many of them are coming in the next few months. You know, pre-orders are really good for our author friends. Or if you're a library user, get your library to order a copy to have it ready for you as soon as it comes out. So I'm going to start actually with 2 that I've already read and will be in my January wrap-up. The first is Come and Get It by Kiley Reid. You may remember Kiley Reid for her debut novel, Such a Fun Age. It was longlisted for the Booker Prize, and it was fantastic. I actually saw her with my friend Ryan in person right before the COVID pandemic started. She was like one of the last authors we saw in person at a great good place for books in Oakland. Fantastic little bookstore if you happen to be in Oakland, California. So I have been waiting for her new book. So this is a campus novel, basically taking place, majority of it takes place in a dorm room or a dorm building. I did not live in the dorms, so all the vernacular is escaping me at this minute. But what it is it's the story of a group of people that sort of interact in different ways. We have a group of college girls who are roommates and sort of the socioeconomic and social issues that play into that. We have an RA who is sort of working towards a goal, return to school after taking a year to help her mother who was ill, who sort of becomes infatuating with a visiting professor who starts to sort of study these young women and on the sly and sort of use their lives and their vernacular and their sort of everything about them to sort of create these stories. That more to that, you need to read the book for that part. And then you just have all of this sort of discourse on education, on race, on, again, socioeconomic stability, money as currency, and in a way that is sort of second nature to actually the social part of money, which I hope that even makes sense, but it does, I promise you. I did listen to this as an audiobook as I read it, and it is a fantastic audiobook. Highly recommend. Kiley can write people and dialogue. It's amazing. Like, you really almost feel like you're watching a reality TV show at times. Just the go back and forth of these characters. Some of them are terrible people. Some of them are just trying as hard as they can. And you just wish lots of different things to happen for them. And when it all comes together, whew, the ending, y'all. Trust me, it is worth a read. So that is Come and Get It by Kiley Reid, out from Putnam. I want to thank them. They did send me this beautiful finished copy, and I absolutely adored this book. If you didn't read Kiley's first book, I also recommend picking that up. It is amazing. The next book is actually this author's last book, Zori by Laird Hunt, and was my favorite read a few years ago. And this is his new book, Float Up, Sing Down. It is out from Bloomsbury, and it is actually a collection of short stories. If you all remember, Zori was like set in this tiny town in, I believe, Indiana. It was about one woman and sort of her life. It's a very quiet book. This follows that in the fact that this is a collection of stories about people that live in that same town that Zori was from. Each story is from a different perspective of a different person from town. And he just, Laird hunts these two books. I read what was sort of kind of like a horror novel by him as well. Very different than these two. But these two books, Zori and Float Up, Sing Down, are very quiet books. You really can get lost in the language. You can get lost in the simplicity of people's lives and the complexity that comes when there's not a whole lot going on. And then the fact that he's able to paint such a vivid picture of this entire town through each story and the connections is just masterful. Laird Hunt is quickly becoming one of those authors that I'm just like, I need to read everything he writes. So this is Float Up, Sing Down. It comes out, I think it's actually out right now. You can get your hands on it. If you haven't read Zori, please do so. It is phenomenal. Okay, next on the list, I think we're starting the books that are coming out in the coming months, just so you know. The next one I want to talk about is James by Percival Everett. This comes out from Doubleday in March of 2024. The Trees was everywhere, Percival Everett's last book. I feel like he is one of those authors that everyone who is in the know just adores his books, but sometimes for some reason he just doesn't make it into the general public's discussion, and that's too bad because he is amazing. The Trees is phenomenal. I've actually started reading his backlist because I am a little bit behind on all of his amazing books, so I need to get there. But what is James about? James is a retelling or a reimagining of Huckleberry Finn from the point of view of James, or Jim as we knew him from that novel. I have started this one. Percival Everett just writes, his mastery of language is like par to none. He's just so good at it. And the clever conceit of this book is this idea that the African-American community, the Black community, is in on sort of a joke that they are playing a certain role because they know the way that white people want them to be perceived, if that makes sense. I'm not very far, so I don't know exactly where he's going to take it. All I will tell you is that you will start reading page 1 and you will not want to stop. He is just a phenomenal writer. So this is James by Percival Everett. This comes out in March of 2024 from Doubleday. Definitely get your hands on it right now. The next book I want to tell you about is one, I think this is her third novel. I have read all of her books. Well, I will have once I read this one. This one's up on my TBR. But I am just a huge fan of Natalie Jenner. This is Every Time We Say Goodbye. She is the author of the Jane Austen Society and Bloomsbury Girls, which I have reviewed and loved on my channel. She's like one of my favorite, I don't know, she writes historical fiction, but it's just got this softness to it, and all of her books are slightly connected. This book is set in 1955. Vivian is a character that we actually met in Bloomsbury Girls, but she has written a play. It's just in London. It's being watched. People are clapping, but the critics tear it apart and it closes, and she sort of feels like her career as a playwright is done. So she gets a job actually in Italy doing some screenwriting work, like a script doctor, and she goes to Italy and she's doing two things. She's sort of doing this thing, enjoying Italy, and she's also searching for her deceased fiance's story. What happened to him during the war? And we're in Italy. We're in sort of at post-war Italy, 1955, 6, that sort of thing. And we have a young woman trying to figure out exactly what she wants to do next. Highly recommend all of Natalie Jenner's books. I can't wait to get to this one. And she is just amazing. So Natalie Jenner, this book is called Every Time We Say Goodbye, but please read the Jane Austen Society, read Bloomsbury Girls, and then pick this one up when it comes out. You will not be disappointed, I promise. Okay, the next author this is also his third book, I do believe, and that is The American Daughters by Maurice Carlos Ruffin. I don't know if you remember Maurice Carlos Ruffin's debut novel, We Cast a Shadow, which I loved, which is very different than this book, by the way. That one's sort of like a what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a alternate reality sort of book about race and people doing things and making sort of surgically to themselves, whatever. I'm not talking about that book, but it's a fantastic book. We Cast the Shadows. He had a short story collection come out after that, which also was very, very good. But The American Daughters is his new novel coming out from One World in March. Oh, is it March? March. For some reason, I thought it was May. March 5th, 2004. So it's not that far away. Let's be honest. March will be here before we know it. This is the story of Addie. She and her mom are slaves in New Orleans. They belong to a businessman in the French Quarter, and they are like this. They are so they are together, bonded beyond all belief, until one day they are separated. Addie doesn't know what she's going to do with her life. She doesn't know how she's sort of going to survive until she meets Lenore, who is a free Black woman who tells her about the Daughters, which is a group of spies sort of working against the Confederacy, the slavery, all of that sort of stuff. And Addie becomes involved in this group. And I love what it says here. With the courage instilled in her by Santee, which is her mom, and with help from these strong women, Addie learns how to put herself first. So begins her journey towards liberation and imagining a new future. I've heard nothing but rave reviews about this so far. It got a star reviewed in Publisher Weekly. Maurice Ruffin is a fantastic new talent. Highly recommend all of his books. But I am really excited for The American Daughters. It comes out on March 5th from One World, and you will not regret getting this one, I promise. Okay, the next book I actually have talked about a couple of times because I am such a fan and so excited for this sophomore novel, and that is Real Americans by Rachel Khong. This is coming out in April from Knopf. Rachel wrote Goodbye Vitamin, which was a book that I absolutely adore and talk about all the time. When anyone is looking for a book to break a reading slump, like a short novel that will just pack a punch, that one will have you in tears, 100% guarantee. I always say that. So Real Americans coming out, did I say this already? It's coming out in April? I think I did. Is the story of two women and a son, actually. And it takes place over a couple of generations. We have a mother figure who does whatever she can to get her family out of China so she can continue to be a scientist. She's trying to flee the Cultural Revolution. She takes her daughter with her. Her daughter, we meet her sort of in the first pages of the book. It's Y2K, and she's sort of gotten to the point where, you know what, the book says it the best, so let me just say this. Raised in America with enough privilege to resent the choices she faces as a young woman, which I think is just such an interesting turn of phrase. And then we have her son, who is Nick, whose father is white. He doesn't have any relationship with him, doesn't really know anything about him because he knows his father wants nothing to do with him. And what does it mean? And that is the story. It's the story of these three family members and sort of how all of it connects and all of the decisions that we make can affect the future generations and how the current generations often owe much of what they have to those who came before them. So that's Rachel Khong's Real Americans, out from Knopf in April. Please, if you haven't read Goodbye Vitamin, stop what you're doing and go get it. It is so good. I promise you, you will not regret it. Okay, last but not least in this video is the new novel Memory Piece by Lisa Ko. This is coming out from Riverhead Books. It comes out on March 19th, 2024. Oh, shoot, I just dropped the book. Hold on. Yeah, see, you get even bloopers in my videos because that's not what was supposed to happen. Lisa Ko wrote The Leavers, which was shortlisted for the National Book Award. I actually met her at a Booktopia event for that book when it came out. And then I actually ran into her. I went to a book event that she did in, I want to say, Palo Alto. And then I ran into her again at Book Expo America. She is just a lovely human being. And her style right now is like on point. Like, I am jealous of how cool she looks. But that is not what we're talking about. We're talking about her new novel, Memory Piece. This is the story of it's the story of three friends. We are introduced to them when they are young. They're teenagers. They're sort of brought together The book says, by a shared sense of alienation and desire for something different. And what happens is we continue through time with them. We go from the pre-digital 80s to the 90s, and the book actually sort of jumps into the future, into 2040. And I love what it says. It's the audacious story of three lifelong friends as they strive to build satisfying lives in a world that turns out to be radically different from the one that they were promised. I will tell you, I have started this one. I'm not very far into it. But Lisa, it takes like a page for you to be bought into a Lisa Ko novel. If you haven't read The Leavers, let's do that before her new book comes out. Very different books, but that I think is what is so amazing about all of these authors. Their books are so different from each other, but so powerful in themselves. So that is it. I think that was 8 books, right? Did I count those right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Maybe that was 7 books. I don't know. It was enough books for you to have an exploding TBR, which I again dropped everywhere over there. See, this is what happens when I haven't done a video in a while. But I hope you pick up every single one of them. If you haven't read their backlist, please do that for these authors because they are amazing. And I hope when you pick these up, you think of me and you send me a message and we can talk about them in the future. So as always, I encourage you to shop locally, read globally, and until next time, I wish you happy reading. Bye, everyone.